Welcome back to another video, everyone. Today I am going to talk through what I'm doing this winter to get strong. You just laugh at me. Start again. I'm talking about what I'm doing to get strong this winter and why you as triathletes or athletes in general should consider getting strong and doing strength training this winter. I've actually got a special guest who's going to be talking on this video about strength training. For those of you who have listened to my podcast, you'll know who Scott Sharp is. A very good friend. I'm seeing him today. We're going to have a cheeky Nando's. Yeah. And he is, for those of you that don't know, he's a PTI in the RAF. He's going to talk through the benefits of strength work and why you should consider doing some, especially this time of year, and hopefully give you some ideas. He has no idea we're going to be filming this video, but oh well, let's go find him. So, we've had a Nando's. What did you have?
Double chicken wrap, halloumi, chili jam.
Yeah, and for anyone that doesn't know, this is Scott. This is what he looks like. I know, he's not that great looking, but...
Finally put a name to a face. I've got a face for radio, not for camera.
That's why we do the podcast.
Yeah, I've been trying to hide around it for the last 6 months.
But yeah, basically, do you want to say a little bit about yourself, first of all? I know you've introduced yourself on the podcast before. Do you want to introduce yourself on the channel?
Yeah.
Just so people know.
I am Scott Christopher Worthing. Soon changing my name to Sharp, so if you search me on Instagram, it'll be Scott Sharp. A bit of bio, little bit about myself. So I've been in the fitness industry, in working around and in gyms for the last 9 years. So I've seen every fad that's going in a gym. Believed probably 3/4 of them myself, and tried to implement them to other people, and then realised what am I doing? Joined the Royal Air Force as a PTI, physical training instructor. I love the way you look at me. I like the fact that we can see each other. You're like gazing at me.
You're so pretty.
It's not as a physical job as I think people may believe it is. The job that I'm currently in, I'm not training recruits. I am training people that are sat behind desks for the majority of their lives, or that they're coming to the end of their careers. So my job as such is very much within strength and conditioning, and not as much as most you would kind of expect with military, is thrashing people. So I think that will transfer very much into kind of civilian life, as I say, but more training people that are that have jobs such as sitting behind a desk for so long, or I can transfer my skills into other areas, obviously being a PT beforehand.
Nice. So this video is about why triathletes or athletes in general should be doing strength work during the winter, and why this is like a perfect time to dip your toes into strength work if you haven't done it before, or why, if you have done it before, you should kind of go back to doing it or increase your strength work. Now we're kind of in the winter phase of training. So what would you say to that? And obviously with your background, I'm guessing you would suggest doing strength work for every athlete out there, really.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be able to dip your toes in and out of that strength world, and I'd advise any person to go to a gym, and you may find the Karens of the world, as we'll call them, will go to the gym and they'll spend 45 minutes for cross training and they'll rave about it, and in actual fact they're going to burn calories, and that's obviously not going to be you. You'll then get the Joes of the world will go and they'll do a lot of HIIT style training, and they'll kind of they'll work themselves to their limit, performing high knees or sprints or constant interval training, and you'll then get a third type of person that tries to perform as much as they can with strength and conditioning, or what they think is strength and conditioning, and it's such a hard term to define, because strength and conditioning can mean literally anything. And that is why you'll have thousands of coaches around the country that call themselves strength and conditioning coaches, is because it is so easy to define, in your opinion, what it is. And it makes it hard for us coaches. However, if you don't perform any strength work, and that is the main focus in this, is you as a triathlete, you get enough 45 minutes on a cross trainer in your own style of training. So you then need to perform and go to the gym and perform strength, not so much conditioning work. And by strength, I mean like the deadlifts, the squats, anything with a resistance. If you can't deadlift or you can't squat, you literally don't have a clue. Try and YouTube it. If you're still not getting it, then go and ask a PT in your gym or one of the fitness instructors, or just take the easiest option and go for a leg press, because a leg press is exactly the same as a squat in the motions that you move. You've just got a fixed weight there, so you're not using your stabilising muscles such as your abs. But sorry, going back to the actual question, lost myself. Absolutely bambling on. Yeah, strength training is so important. If you think of your longevity of your career, and not even your career, we take that back to short term, your longevity of next season. If you're not performing your strength training in the winter, then you're just going to get injured easier in the winter. In the race season, and obviously then comes a world of problems, and like Harry knows with his back, you then end up just in this continuous cycle throughout a season of just issues and issues and issues, because you have not done that base period, and resulting that into your endurance training. If I said to you, right, you're not going to do any endurance training between now and February, you would go into the season with almost no fitness, especially for a half Ironman or an Ironman. You would go into that with no fitness, or no real fitness, as we would call it. So it's exactly the same. If you're not doing your strength training, then you're just going to get injured a lot quicker.
For anyone out there who wants like some sort of tips with strength training, what would you say, like frequency wise, how often they should do it, intensity wise, how intense should it be? Like it's to complement their training, isn't it? It's not to like take away and detract from it. And like you shouldn't walk away from every session feeling screwed, should you?
Resulting back to my quote on my notes.
Good answer, mate.
just head away.
I was like,
out of the back of my head.
He didn't understand my question.
So there is a quote that's very specific. So there is a difference between suffering and adapting. Leave the gym fulfilled, not fucked. So by
I've told you I'm trying to reduce the amount of swearing.
It's not you that's saying it.
Okay, it's fine.
So by that, the cup of coffee, Harry's cup of coffee, at the moment, if we put holes in it, we're obviously not going to do that, and we kept pouring water in, ideally that coffee should always stay at the same amount, okay, or the water in the bucket should stay at the same amount, okay. It should never get lower, should never get higher. Now if we covered them holes and we then poured water in, obviously the bucket is going to overflow. I'm not a scientist, but I know for a fact that is going to overflow. So when it is overflowing, obviously you know for a fact then you are overtraining, and when it is just drizzling out, that is almost like your optimal style of training. So you need to ask yourself, am I riding the wave? When you first got into triathlon, you didn't straight away go, I'm going to do 20 hours of training, or I'm going to do 40 hours like Alistair Brownlee's interviewed said. You're just going to ride the wave and get more and more into it, build your sets and reps up. So to answer Harry's question, if you've never done any strength and conditioning work, if you're a Karen, if you're a Joe, if you're a Tommy that likes to go in and lift weights, whatever you do is going to change the stimulus of training that you currently do, and you're going to see the improvements on that. If you went into the gym and 3 times a week and you were absolutely thrashing yourself, and as I said earlier in that quote, if you are suffering in the gym 3 times a week, then that is going to then take an effect on your endurance training, and that's probably why a lot of endurance athletes don't perform strength training, because they find that they leave and they have this DOMS effect, which is delayed onset muscle soreness, and they leave the gym very achy because they've suffered, they've not adapted to to the right means. And if you're a complete beginner and you've never ever been into the gym before, then start in the gym once a week. There are tons of YouTube videos that you can do at home twice a week, and therefore you're then getting your 3 times a week in. And but what I would say is just don't be leaving the gym suffering, and leave the gym fulfilled with what you've done and almost wanting more. And try as best as you can to add resistance training into your program.
Yeah. And so with someone who is like a complete newbie to doing any gym work, what would be your 3 like fundamental exercises that any athlete should do, regardless of whether they're a triathlete or just whatever athlete they are? 3 fundamental exercises in the gym that you think are key to keeping them like injury free and just keeping them nice and conditioned.
But complete beginners, we tend to work as strength and conditioning coaches with 7 fundamental movements. So that is the pull, push, squat, lunge, hinge, rotation, and gait. So we'll break all of these down. So obviously pull and push, again, upper body related. Fairly easy. Anything with a pull motion you're bringing to your body, anything with a push motion you're bringing away. Definitely incorporate 2 of those movements. 2 of the easiest movements if you're a complete beginner is a seated row on a machine, making sure that you're squeezing your traps back or squeezing the shoulder blades to try and touch each other. Any push movement, really try and focus on the chest, so squeeze the shoulder blades together as if you're on the back of the pull, and then push, and keep your shoulders back and keep the shoulder blades pulled back. If you're pushing your shoulder forward, you're then incorporating that shoulder joint, which you don't really want to be incorporating. You're wanting to incorporate anything in the anterior motion, such as your chest. The squat and lunge are going to be more for the lower body, of course, so and the hinge. So the squat, you don't have to perform a squat. That isn't necessarily saying go and do a load of body weight squats. My best tip I can give you is if you haven't squatted before, then go on a leg press or go on a leg curl or even go on a leg extension, although them 2 aren't necessarily squats. Because when we do squat, a lot of people won't get the full depth or won't be able to get the right muscles as per se, not necessarily switched on, but they won't be able to get them working efficiently for them to do that movement or to get the gains that they require. A lunge is simply a lunge movement. And a hinge movement, imagine you've got a broomstick on your back and you're opening and closing like a door. So if that is, I can't even get the position, if that is your legs and that's your upper body, then your upper body obviously needs to be doing some sort like this motion. Thus. This. Good. This does directly involve the hamstrings and the glutes, same or very similar to obviously a squat and lunge, and it should be through the hamstrings and through the glutes, not through the lower back. The lower back should just be like an accessory movement to that, and should just help assist you through that movement. Anything rotation-wise really important for triathletes in general. We're often in a linear, straight line. And we never ever work outside of the motions, meaning that when we are on a bike and a bit of wind hits us, all of a sudden we've lost 20 watts on a power because the wind's hitting us from the side and we're having to use them external obliques that we don't use normally during our training, especially indoor athletes. And then gait is anything running or walking, so anything carrying, I always try and involve within any triathlete, whether that's carrying a dumbbell above your head, you'll straight away find that your shoulder then becomes activated because you're having to carry an external force from the top. You're having to use your abs, you're having to think about where you walk, you're having to stop the anti-rotation because obviously if you're holding a dumbbell above your head, you're going to want to rotate either side to make that easier and compensate. But you can do that in many different ways. Either a kettlebell just beside you can carry 2 kettlebells beside you, you can carry 2 kettlebells at your shoulder, and again there are tons of ways in which you can train gait. So a long-winded answer, your 3 things has turned into 7 and me talking for the last 5 minutes. But that is definitely what I'd recommend for any beginner.
So that was lots of information for for the beginner athletes. Now, if we move on to more like advanced athletes or those like top-end athletes, Is there kind of different bits of information you would offer to those athletes compared to like the beginner athletes?
I think you tend to find that the very, very good advanced athletes, and whatever sport you compete at, do the basics very, very well. And in order to do the basics very, very well, you've still got to train very similar to that beginner athlete, but of course you just advance your exercise knowledge even further. If anyone obviously wants to advance their knowledge even further, then give us a message. There are tons of exercises that I could say, and I'll bore you, even though I've been speaking for 16 minutes. But there are things that you can include, such as like pre-bike warm-ups, and you can, if you have the time, then a 10-minute pre-bike warm-up is absolutely perfect during this time when you can lay back your endurance training slightly and really try and push developing your maximal force or your strength and your power. Will obviously provide you with so many more benefits and help you unlock that potential, and what a great time to do it, which is the off season. So for an advanced athlete, don't do anything different to a beginner, but do it better.
That was good. And if any of you want any more like information, or you want to talk to Scott directly, are you happy for me to put your Instagram in the description below? And then you can always message Scott, and I'm sure you'll be happy to help them out, or if they're looking for a program or something. So
I won't talk this much to clients. You just get what you get, and I
got
talk
a nice
you
coffee
through.
now.
I know, yeah, nice iced cold coffee.
Alright, hope you enjoyed that. And leave a comment in the comments section below if you've got any specific questions for Scott, or just let us know what you thought of the video. And check out our podcast as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to look at him then.